Here's a Mindful Man. I'm reading The Clinic by Paul G. Brett, which will help my mental health and positive thinking. I hope you enjoy it. Covered with embarrassment, I replied, "You won't believe this, Bishop, but I'm a clergyman too, off duty this evening. In disguise, I'd say." We laughed and introduced ourselves, and then disappeared into the gardens. We had come to see a new production of Fidelio, and if I were honest, to see the new opera house as well. I couldn't believe it was such a long time since I'd last been there. But new century, new opportunity. It was a triumph, twice the size of the old one, but preserving its intimate feel. The red brick walls and walkways matched the Elizabethan manor house, and the circular roofs, half hidden by the trees, nestled into the Sussex downland as if they had simply grown there. I could readily imagine why a bishop might come to see this tale of the struggle for freedom against a background of political intrigue and personal jealousy. It was such an appropriate theme for someone in a leadership position in the church, though it was perhaps best to overlook the fact that Leonore, in the story, had dressed as a man and encouraged the love of the jailer's daughter, whose father wanted her to marry him. We had plenty of time to walk around the lake and look at the borders and nearly clipped hedges, and to survey the other guests. I say guests because this is how we felt, guests in a friend's house, there for a weekend country house party. The whole evening was magical. I particularly remember the sight of that young girl in an electric blue dress with sculptured neck and puffed sleeves, walking sedately down the brick path in the urn garden, though I didn't tell Jane what I was thinking, and I remember being delighted by the vast array of ox-eye daisies in the wild garden the other side of the lawn. Sipping our iced coffee in the mid-May hall, we saw someone in a crumpled dinner jacket with scuffed shoes and a garden hat. Next page. He looked effortlessly at home amid the tanned faces, the silver hair, and the cut glass voices around him. Later, as we wandered back, we passed a wild-eyed young man with an elegant girl hanging on his arm. There were two champagne flutes in the fingers of his left hand behind his back. It was all so natural, so English, so effortlessly upper class. In the interval, we found ourselves sitting on the lawn near the bishop and his party, who had brought my favourite things: smoked salmon, strawberries, dark chocolate, and a bottle of the rather good alcoholic drink for Christmas. I can't pronounce it. The bishop's picnic was in another league altogether. A luxury hamper was unpacked and its contents set out on a slatted teak garden table with 8 matching chairs. They had terrine of grilled vegetables with shredded basil, poor basil, and whole lobster salad, and later a delicious-looking summer pudding. I knew it was this because I'd seen the caterer's card advertising it and the price. They began with champagne. I couldn't quite see what sort, but there were 2 bottles with rather slim necks and pink labels, and other bottles appear at intervals throughout the meal. Jane and I smiled at each other as we enjoyed our own more modest fare. There was still half an hour to go before the second act when the bishop came over and sat with us on our rug. Wonderful performance, don't you think? It's one of my favourites. I so like the prisoners coming out and singing something, something, something. Of course it doesn't mean what the English word means, he said helpfully, and then taking a deep breath, more German, don't you? Freely to breathe fresh air, hey? I was impressed with his German and his memory. It is very moving, I replied, but I like Florestan in the dungeon, thinking he's an angel, and it's Leonora, freedom through the devotion of the faithful wife. It's in Act 2. Next page. Indeed, very true, he said, and then added abruptly, cutting off that train of thought, do you come here regularly? As often as we can, I replied, about once every 20 years. I see, and you? We have to come with the family quite a bit, you know. It's a bit difficult as we live in the north. That's Frederica, my wife, 3 of our girls and a couple of husbands. Our youngest daughter's gone off somewhere in the grounds. We have to sell the family silver, of course, to pay for the tickets, but it's worth it. I nodded, wondering if I dared take this subject any further with him. "Do you have family silver?" I asked stupidly. "Used to have, but it's mostly all gone now." I had not meant anything serious or overtly inquisitive, but this remark, but his frown, gone as soon as it had arrived, and his glance up at the house, told me that I had touched a nerve. "The church has a lot of family silver, of course," I added quickly, "but that's not easy to sell." "It isn't," he replied, "but I must let you get on with your supper, and I mustn't neglect my family. I do hope we will meet again." With a well-practiced smile, he got up awkwardly, I noticed, and left us. We didn't see him again that day. By the time we looked around after the performance and made our way back to the car, he had gone. "Nice man," James said as we queued to get out, "but I hope you won't want to move to his diocese." "No fear of that," I replied, remembering a former girlfriend who still lived in that part of the world. Hope you enjoyed this section from The Clinic by Paul G. Brett, my friend. Hope I read it okay. It's quite difficult.